Welcome to Tidbit Talkin. This is a series that consists of spewing out assorted thoughts which arose from somebody who thinks too much, taking in, and generally loving various entertainment media by the boatload. These tidbits may be little theories, observations, or simply jokes. Please bear in mind that all these ideas come from the perspective of somebody who's experienced every main story bit connected with whatever is currently being gone over. So spoilers will be here. However, other works set in a shared continuity will typically solely be referenced in a way that only makes sense to anybody who's also fully experienced those ones up until their same time occurring points. Sort of a coded nod kind of deal. Now, with all of that out of the way, here we go. The blue rupee is probably stashed away for extra cafeteria food. Link likely helps people around Skyloft with errands if Knight Academy students don't get some kind of pay. This might even be expected of the young folks training for such an honorable career. What players typically consider side quests could be something everybody is secretly graded on outside of class. Karane may not have noticed Colin's her plus him related scribbling because she thought somebody misspelled the word crawling. Teachers wouldn't have erased the thing because they believed it to be something involving heartflower planting concerning extra credit. Weaker cadets like Fledge being encouraged/expected to handle mundane yet still physically demanding tasks, such as barrel hauling, might involve more than just giving them taste of regular nightly duties and a relatively safe strength improving exercise. There may also be some secret double testing junk related to checking one's capacity for finding creative not brute force involving problem solutions afoot. All doors are locked on wing ceremony day save for the front exit in order to prevent scenarios like what Bruce's gang actually pulled off from happening. Skyloftian pants might have zippers on the rear end, too. Link's shocked look of realization after hearing Gaipora's story about his first Loftwing meeting is him just now becoming aware that the Crimson Bird's particular flapping sounds haven't been heard since waking up. The ear tingle Skyloftians get when they feel such things happening from afar is what causes all that sensing stuff. Zelda's Sky Steed got minutely injured because typically only the ones used by full-fledged knights are in good enough shape to perform last-minute rescues like that. Instructor Horwell is the one responsible for securing every school door. Karane snuck out while he was using the bathroom, and she wasn't even aware it was locked beforehand. Future chosen heroes rummaging through stuff without permission-related tendencies may have been caused by Skyward Sword Link trying to establish the Knight Academy conduct code in what would become Hyrule, but failing with a certain chivalry and hospitality-related part because of bad handwriting, misrepresenting, don't look into people's stuff. The Knight Academy was founded 25 years ago because Hylia's about to reemerge as Zelda Divine Power filled her future parents with an urge to make goddess sword handling capable folk generating facilities. Groose and company got those huge eggs from their waterfall hangout place. The things probably came out of monsters, not Loftwings. Seems like destroying the latter should result in being arrested or something at the very least. Zelda made sure to create the sailcloth with a material that maintains a pleasant fragrance because she knew the user would have to face many smells being moved around by updrafts. As for most weather hoopla being nice and calm the entire game, it's Zelda's emerging goddess powers being subconsciously used to help make Link's journey exist without uncontrollable/insurmountable obstacles like lightning strikes. Gaipora probably had some of those night patrols with the headlights looking for Zelda after sunset. That's also why he's around to meet Link after the guy's goddess gear grabbing. Stamina fruits and heart flowers work by putting out oils that get absorbed nutritionally through the skin, like some body care products, but with the added bonus of magic metabolisms and whatnot. This Emerald Crest tablet was of course sent up from Ferone, along with that island the goddess statue is on. The other two sacred slates were moved around accordingly not long after. Owlin might actually be the one who makes wooden shields for Skyloft's Bazaar. Dabbling in equipment forging seems like a fitting side gig for the teachers at a Knight Academy. That name of kids often being on houses deal is because Link, still being one himself, thinks about the people he interacts with more when focusing upon these places rather than their actual owners. The fact that Groose's Link picture on his punching bag isn't already totally shredded implies he recently tore another one up. He was probably planning on pounding right after getting up in the morning, but got too sad upon learning of Zelda's disappearance to work out/vent. Those gold and blue feathers framed on his wall might be from other rival-owned Loftwings snatched by him during previous wing ceremonies. Pure heart-equipped folks are said to be capable of wielding the Master Sword. The sacred weapon itself referred to Groose as such. Legend of Groose confirmed. Knights are expected to be tired out from patrolling and bystander helping all day. Citizens normally let them sleep everywhere as a thank you courtesy. Bamboo slicing guys guy called himself the former Mr. Skyloft. He is extremely proud of his whole family's looks. There are weights in Groos's room. He must have meant something like Mr. Universe. Groos and him wearing Speedos is definitely canon. The Lumpy Pumpkin's proprietor put junk on that chandelier because he knew people would break it to get said stuff and have debt-repaying work tasks thrust upon them. He just doesn't like giving interviews. Soup stays hot while sleeping because Link's interest in such activity grants him the magical ability to make inanimate objects receive rest equaling his own when doing so. The Sky Surveying soldiers were sent out to look for Zelda, but their official secondary but actually primary mission now is to prevent people other than Link from approaching the surface portals. The stuff Gorko knows about, including that cure-all fruit, may have been obtained by someone, probably another Goron researcher, discovering a physical transcript of Fi's information bank. The shininess going down this hill might be a reflective effect caused by the presence of ground-up amber relics. Skyview Temple was designed as a place where Hylia could guide those islands that would form Skyloft to their proper positions in the air. Through meditation alone, Bamboo Guy was able to briefly travel into the Silent Realm, where he obtained many dusk relics like that one used to make his necklace. The things like gold skulls he procured by killing bokoblins that wound up in the sky due to tornadoes and other harsh wind-related junk. This wonderful merchant only purchases particular products each night because he has to rearrange his excess storage in very specific ways to make room for them. On a related note, Rupin starts stocking new Link Journey relevant stuff because he overhears chatter among the teachers in Gaipora about what the guy's been up to while Zelda's searching. Most of the Sky Islands are treasure-free because Beetle already ransacked them. Ground-found hearts would just be the fruits from flowers that were picked up by enemies and or fell into grassy places. They might have even been moved around by some incredibly small beings. All these crates, blocks, and whatnot spread throughout the dungeons could be leftover construction materials. Hero testing puzzles sometimes get formed around them just so they are not wasted. The Beetle is in Skyview Temple because those La Nairu robots built each champion challenging chunk of every labyrinth. This Stalord was originally meant to be the area's boss in an assessment of savior-sourced sword skills as opposed to the normal tool tinkering technique testing type. That was the old intent because a certain goddess sword was meant to be housed in a nearby sealed temple. Anyway, said skeletal super soldier squats in the droney items room because he wishes to guard it until one of those wacky androids returns for some precious tool retrieval action. The shield bash's extreme effectiveness may involve Hylian's hyper hearing, honing in on their current opponent's most vulnerable muscle positions during battle. When Girahim called Link a soft boy, he meant it in a head-concerning way. His follow-up comment regarding a certain sword being Link's sole survival source is about him believing the guy's too dumb to live without Fi's advice. Places like the Lumpy Pumpkin and Skyloft Bazaar would keep Goddess Chest around as minor mysterious tourist attractions. Either that or such things are too heavy to move. Skyloftians might not find Radiance beam shooting from the Goddess statue so suspicious because surprisingly strong sunlight streams normally bounce off its surface in such a manner. Fi's information about citizens' personal lives could have been procured when she overheard prayers at the Goddess statue. Every other creature's daily doings devoted data, like the Kikwi kind, comes from eavesdropping while Link's running about. She'd do this because there's worry somebody might poison her master or whatever. Also boredom, probably. This name won't even get an attempted pronunciation. A personal nickname will be used instead. Batman's belief in those gratitude gobs may be what's actually generating them via his own magic meshing with other folks' fervent feelings. Hence why they don't appear in later games. This also explains their lack of presence before his story gets told. He simply needed somebody else to believe first for it to kick in. The two crystals near where Link's Loftwing was held captive were of course generated by it for Tunic Boy and Harp Lady. That thankful gem kinda below the bazaar would have been produced by Potion Woman's gratefulness for her husband always taking care of their child. The appreciation artifact near that plant was made by Alan feeling thankful for Horwell watering his precious greenery on days when he's away. The debt-repaying mystic chunk above Beetle's hideaway is generated from him being undyingly grateful to the goddess for having a wonderful little place to rest his legs and admire his favorite bug. The other's help-adoring magical dinghy in front of Dovo's is generated by him feeling glad for everybody who comes up there to have a chat. The gratitude crystal near the Lumpy Pumpkin storage is generated by its owner's thankfulness for each and every one of their wonderful customers. Bokoblins build huts in Eldin, but nowhere else because lugging around all the ore they find in their barely there clothes would weigh them down far too much. Anything buried underground that would have a hard time naturally surviving in the Eldin region probably belongs to some other area found stockpile a Mogma put together. Basic baddies fear the beetle because they know it's capable of snatching their precious loincloths. On top of all that digging they do, the Mogma's considerable upper body strength may stem from resisting those updraft pockets scattered throughout Eldin Volcano. The Earth Temple Key likely consists of materials which break apart and reattach very easily, because dropping it anywhere on that rocky mountain is liable to cause damage, so why not just make it something one can fix in a snap? Loftwings probably take things to item check really quickly off screen. The bodacious big birds go into overdrive because they know from experience how badly carrying too much can hurt, and don't want their partners suffering similar fates. The crystal near that pumpkin patch is of course caused by gratefulness for such a swell harvest. Let ask for help blowing up that boulder because the presence of claws means Mogmas can't pull bombs like humans. The various statues of roly-poly demonic dudes might be how Mogmas and other ancient Rocky region residents viewed Gorons before getting to know them. Zelda may not have been able to use Lanairu's spring until she got to the past when it wasn't a desert. The thing that happens under night skies at a certain lumpy pumpkin patch is drunkards wandering out and peeing. Those robots mentioned that time shift stones are dangerous for humans. This is probably because misusing them can lead to sudden extreme aging. Aside from those folks on the sand ship later, or including them, kidnapped mechanical people who got drained of electricity were probably used to help make those taser swords some Bokoblins use. Crystallized evil is necessary for operating relatively peaceful things like bug nets, because the essence of cheating must be extracted from such junk in order to get in on that sweet natural physical law defying action. Most stuff that upgrades everybody's favorite bug camera to the stamina beetle lasts for centuries. The flower might provide oil that prevents sunray scorching and other weather originating damage. Of course, a goddess plume would be its main structure. Several shields need tumbleweeds for beefing up because Gondo must use them to cushion his hammer's blows, so very specific force levels can be reached. The beetle gets all screwy in some places because their more powerful but less practical magical might messes up its own hocus-pocus energies. Beamos would have been in the main mining facility to provide precision cutting for time shift stones. There are dud era swapping rocks on those trash moving conveyors. They must be disposed of immediately because keeping them around might cause horrifying paradox related things. The gust bellows would have originally been designed so those bots had a way to clean their beloved mining facility efficiently without activating any time shift stones by accident. Any rupees stashed in these vents may be the result of at least one oil needing worker that's all employer fed up with. Impa thought breaking the Temple of Time's main gateway could be an efficient gear him deterrent because that guy's status as a metal consisting living sword means traveling through places packed with incredibly powerful electrical currents would present much difficulty. Textbooks in Skyloft wouldn't mention normal birds because their authors didn't want children trying to ride smaller ones in the rare event such things got up there somehow. Link is kinda okay at playing the harp before Impa's teaching session for a couple of reasons. 1. Zelda casually talked to him about how it works when they hung out together. 2. All students in a given class, including males, have to learn the harp a bit just in case no girls are musically adept enough for the goddess role. Having giant ears doesn't prevent someone from being tone deaf after all. Ancient knowledge would have been kept in places Gorons are prone to stumbling upon for at least 2 reasons. One being that their jolly nature makes a hero helping quite likely. The other would involve their intimidating statures having a chance to scare off stupid fiends like Bokoblins that would covet such things. Feeny, this game's iteration of the ghost who needs toilet paper, likely died during experimental phases of Skyloft plumbing system development. There definitely would have been horrific splattering. The gratitude crystal in Link's room was of course generated by his thankfulness for all those times Zelda woke him up just in time. That house-cleaning breeze now Laura waits for involves opening her door whenever one of those sky tornadoes reaches town. Gondo isn't entirely sure of what an ancient flower is before bringing Scrapper up to Link, despite the fact that you could upgrade items with one beforehand because he just describes what's needed for his customers. The labels are typically just in each buyer's head. Gossip stones may have been developed by the Sheikah to back up Fee's knowledge. The kinks were never really worked out though, hence why the things are quite unsure about stuff even when they only spout totally correct info. Songs that open silent realms may have been composed, so Hylia could pay tribute to those she holds dear. Just as real-world wetness is full of many microscopic organisms, maybe the Silent Realm's walking water is packed with wee little guardians that warn their bigger counterparts whenever they get stomped on. Dusk relics are likely much sturdier than their amber counterparts because they contain power from Hylia's soul, as such things are all that can enter these places. This water dragon scale is a courage gift because facing the threat of drowning and all those other ways H2O can kill isn't something one lacking it can do. Bucha headed towards the Trial Gates location after he heard harping and singing from afar. Most Kikwis can no longer see Yerbal because the gray bits on his body makes them think he's a rock, so they don't bother trying to interact. Girahim probably took whatever was in this chest and replaced it with an evil crystal to mock the water dragon. This gold rupee up here was likely meant for paying those robots after they finished construction on the ancient cistern. Of course, Link and other Skyloftians can't summon their birds so easily if they weren't expecting to exit a landmass. The Isle of Songs guided Link towards Farore's flame first because Hylia knew a certain potion shop lady was just about finished with developing some magical oxygen juice. This heart piece was likely generated for Beetle after he traversed to the highest sky island. His intense desire for money is what allows him to resist accepting it into his own being and sell it later. Din, Farore, and Nairu probably encourage the existence of alternative religion because, on top of just being perfectly reasonable deities who are quite humble, they don't want too many Triforce-aware folk around. The curse caused to varying degrees by that gunk, some beings, and a certain metal is preventing people from accessing their magical smoky inventory spheres. Rupin coincidentally commissioned the development of a zombie-scaring shield because he heard rumors of Batman being in town and wanted to capitalize on that fear. The undead bokoblins generated by Koloktos don't match up physically to earlier ones. Specifically, they needn't be staked if one yearns for a good slaying. This very well could be because Girahim wasn't able to cause complete consecrated contraption corruption, and the thing's sacred essence weakens those demons it unwillingly produces. The flames are of course locked with a Skyward strike thingy because them coming into contact with not holy weapon stuff would be very dangerous. Courage increases attack strength because Link is imagining all the powerful foes he will be going after soon, since that well-armed robot was quite formidable. It may have provided alternative power-ups if different prominent problems plentifully popped up right before, like say added weight if a giant windstorm was faced. Gorko is so excitable that he constantly magically generates heart pieces for foes, hence why he's not so surprised when one is coming on for Link. Bits about Hylia watching from the edge of time may involve Zelda sending psychic messages from present frozen self to past one using some sweet, newly awakened semi-divine power. That's how she sends Link through the most convenient trial order. Claw shots are wisdom tools because if you don't use them carefully, you'll die. The Night Knights will put people back exactly where they found them per their training to ensure that things like moonlit carpentry can resume smoothly whenever accidents happen. This gratitude crystal came from the fact that Zelda has had someone she completely trusts her entire life in Link. That heart was generated by her being impressed by Link's progress towards knighthood. Wise holy roasting power is of course what enables the Sandship stealth feature. There aren't many time shift stones around Lanairu Sandsea aside from the Sandship and Pirate Stronghold ones, because any found in this particular region section are mandated to be former dumped. That super smart Supreme Scorching must be protected at all costs. Steal and murder happy folks like pirates, of course, gladly disobey said law. Speaking of which, those synthetic sea scourges probably swipe said situation swapping slabs because they want to experiment with changing the value of stolen goods. Evil crystals help the bow with a path to sacredness by showing it what must be targeted, sort of like providing the thing with a self-contained lock-on assisting scent. These huge presses on the Sandship are for compressing junk into forms which can be more easily recycled at that shipyard. Fee recommends using a Skyward strike over arrows to stop the tentacles because she doesn't know how many there are and or if they can be regenerated. She simply doesn't want Link running out of ammo. The Donkey Kong-esque barrels rolling down here are from some kind of attic-like storage things that got loosened upon super-sized squid striking. Tantalus was probably trying to breed with the ship. After all, this boat's the only thing that remotely undoubtedly resembles an opposite-sex member of its species, at least when it comes to size equivalency. The Wisdom Flame makes Fee grant more dowsing slots and whatnot because all those patience-testing errands Link went through in these places forced him to dwell upon stuff other than brute force solutions. If he did fight a lot in this region, it might have granted him magic spells or some crap. Fledge becomes so strong after using a stamina potion because its particular variety of mysticism gets enhanced by his not giving up encapsulating attitude. This guy right here got Dusk Relic when winds blew some out of the Silent Realms as Link was entering and exiting them. The chosen hero never grabbed such normal world located dark thingies himself because he's too focused after his trials to notice them. Fire Shield earrings are power items because they harness a particularly potent energy source. Geothermal rocks. When badly damaged, Scrapper goes back down through whatever paths were cleared of enemies to activate his auto-repair functions. Fortune doesn't have good ideas about what times are reasonable for Rickety Coaster prize awarding because beings made of rock don't really understand how more fleshy folks' weight distribution works. Most monster horn-wielding Bokoblins are the archers who die in one hit. Both of these equipment choices stem from their fragility. The weakest ones always need backup, after all. Only the stronger, more ocean camouflage variants with bony blowers are commander types. The curse unleashing enemies, which are relatively close to Eldin and Pharaoh, might gain their powers by leeching off the dragons in a holy magic twisting sort of way. Of course the Gust Bellows blows incredibly cold air. The robots need to be kept cool, like every other advanced machine, after all. Magmanos might be an offshoot of Wallmasters that experienced a lava survival enabling mutation. Normal horrifying hands aren't around in this game because Gearhim slayed them when they wouldn't obey his orders. Mogmas can dig more easily with mediocre mids because they don't have to worry about lacking oxygen. Link must cut through quickly, hence why he can't burrow underground until he has equipment that lets him escape fast enough. Some monks or whatever who used to inhabit this wonderful fire sanctuary may have figured out glasswork and were responsible for creating the first rupees and those ever so precious bottles. Gearhim can't tell that second gate of time is in Pharaoh's realm from the emerald imagery alone, because on top of there being much more surface than just where Link's been so far, La Nairu's land also held much greenery at certain points. Din's Flame, of course, adds more raw power. It's specifically a demon-repelling type this time around, because Link was focusing on one of their lords recently. Of course, him repeatedly proving his purity really helped Fee instill this new trait. Zelda couldn't add her Hylia power to the sword until Link himself souped up because of that whole becoming mortal thing. It's his greater strength and their undying bond that allows such a miracle now. Those spheres adorning the Earth Temple that can be used as fortune-telling devices were probably created by Eldin, so volcanic residents could know of particularly dangerous eruptions well in advance. That thanks thrust thickness behind the light tower was formed by Callan and Stritch, being grateful for spending good times with Groose. The gratitude crystal in Oriel and Paro's house was generated by them always appreciating each other's support. That training hall rafter perched Good Vibes Rock came about because the instructor is truly glad people have always returned his precious practice sword. This cliffside carrying clump got forged by all the feelings of those who've watched sunsets and rises nearby. Phylocyte's main eye opens fully whenever earwing things get smashed because it wants to make sure all dangerous threats can be completely seen. That area, which one can only enter with the Thunder Dragon's permission, would of course normally be accessed after he himself grabbed a key for his employees. Peter is happy over his daughter's rejection rendered reeling because the gut-wrenchingly glum girl copes with it by acting like she's incomparably invested in her own looks just like Daddy. La Nairu may have forged the Hylian shield with leftover parts he procured from a certain shipyard. It might even be made from the same metals that house those sacred flames. The Grusonator was designed in a way that allows safe human launching action because that's definitely something its creator and his friends would like to do for fun. These poison bubbles may be caused by that corrupted soil underneath the ancient cistern. Most Kikwis consider the forest safe now despite things like Dekubabas, Chews, and Keys still being around because such creatures only care about food. The little plant dudes, of course, aren't so appetizing for fellow photosynthesizers and bloodsuckers. The Mogma myths were easily stolen back by Plats because those stupid Bokoblins would have tossed them aside after realizing they didn't fit. Those goofy, garb-guarded goons just keep Link's tools in chests because they are waiting for orders from Gearhim about what to do with the stuff. They probably didn't take like the Goddess Harp because it's one of those only purer individuals may wield deals like Link's Master Sword. Stuff like the Fire Shield earrings and Water Dragon Scale weren't grabbed because frisking Link that roughly would definitely wake him up. These Bokoblins must have stashed Link's bug net with his bow and beetle, two items they find truly terrifying, because at least one of them got tangled up in the thing, and thus this whole troop assumed it was some kinda deadly trap. All these gossip stones might be acting like jerks because those earth manipulation powers the Fire Dragon used to start an eruption messed with their ore-composed brains or whatever. Stritch justified stealing a bug that was already clearly placed in an enclosure for ownership displaying purposes by telling himself somebody packed it up to be given away all birthday present-like. Also, he would have found the thing after stumbling upon Beetle's Island while looking for Insect Heaven. Those two places are at similar altitudes after all. In addition to all that loving tribute stuff mentioned with those other mystical melodies, the Song of the Hero would have been created, so anybody could be inspired to become one someday. The Up Here tier type is given a simple sacred label as opposed to being called Hylia's because forfeiting her immortality made them all ownerless and whatnot. The various Quiet World barriers, especially these Skyloft ones, are in place to make sure somebody doesn't wander off and grab themselves some Triforce without completing every trial. Skykeep's puzzle-centric architecture could provide even more ultimate sacred relic protecting security by automatically rearranging itself in the worst way possible if intruders tried breaking through walls and stuff to get a hold of that unlimited power goodness. On that note, this Dread Fuse right here would have been modified/created to help make sure the trials couldn't be cheated through. Nobody can predict and stop a rule breaker better than an automated one. Fee's level of talkativeness reaches first dungeon matching heights here because she knows Link and her will part ways soon. How much she'll miss the guy greatly overrides her confidence in his mastered skills. On top of not wanting to harm Zelda, Link's lacking in the action-taking department after Hear Him sneak attack might be caused by Triforce using being quite disorienting. Hear Him dancing while performing sorcery is quite like what Fee does during those portal opening moments and whatnot. This very well could be because Sword Spirits focus magical power by using big movements that resemble being swung with great force in their normal states. This would explain why fighting him kept the ritual going. Those different songs played on the monster horns are just what's popular during each time period. Hear Him Skyward strikes are red because this demonic dude can't fully use a power he doesn't have permission to wield. The gods are simply draining some sacred strength back as it descends downwards towards him. Instructor Horwell probably overheard Gaipora talk about the goddess statue leaving Skyloft once, hence why he's not so concerned after that particular island chunk falls. Link can safely take advantage of the lightning demise brings forth, even though the villain stirred that craziness up solely to kill him. This is most likely the result of Nature's Force's 3 goddess origin taking precedence over Demon King summoning power. The incredible emotional bond developed between Link and Fee is what mutated his Skyward Strike into full health sword blast over time. The old one doesn't refer to a title of some aged sage. Rather, it just means this isn't young Impa. 2 Sheikahs add up to 30 cents, and one of them isn't a nickel, or something like that. There's light to mid-weight spoilers here for potentially every other game in the series. Sparrow's crystal ball may in fact be a moon pearl. The thing's magical locating power might be able to get utilized in a form-preserving manner because it can provide immensely intense imagery of one's true self. Kiwis are more likely the ancestors of beings like Maku and Deku trees rather than those silly Kokiri. The seeds and babas were named first. The main trees got their monikers later because botanists found them to possess similar DNA. Hear Him's gear generation is just an unrestrained version of the Master Sword's Breath of the Wild found energy replenishing capabilities. The Malice may have corrupted Death Mountain's soil and prevented more convection-proof bomb plants from growing. Impa appears to be using the same kind of explosives Sheikah slates provide. Random rupees such as this are caused by some Minish getting curious about how exploratory the goddess's hero is. The Sheikah may have based their more spidery guardians on past hero-originating horror stories about these ones and Skulltulas. The Midnight Merchant's wares may very well come from the ancestors of those secret-to-everybody dudes in Zelda 1. This currently silent realm, of course, turns gold and becomes a secret one due to Link's righteousness, mirroring how it later got corrupted and came to be known as the Dark World due to Ganon's opposite qualities. Apparently, before somebody gets the Triforce, it's just in neutral mode. Endings are a pain, but all of you are fantastic. See ya.